Becoming the WWE Champion must be the best thing ever. Even if you don't have the greatest reign, who cares? Not everybody gets to have the opportunity. This doesn't mean you're always guaranteed a home run though, and man, sometimes it all goes bad just due to the timing of the thing. That hurts your heart. So let us give some superstars their get-out-of-jail-free card or point and laugh at them. Because I am Simon Miller. This is 10 wrestlers who became champion at the wrong time. Number 10, Alberto Del Rio. Here is the deal. Vince McMahon wanted to push Alberto Del Rio hard so that the WWE got a better foothold in Mexico. The term of the next Rey Mysterio was thrown around a lot. This is just what they do. The trigger was pulled on this push in 2011 as Alberto won the Royal Rumble and the Money in the Bank briefcase, but we've already mentioned the issue, the year 2011. Only one man needed a big hurrah in that year, and his name was CM Punk. We all remember how the fans got behind the pipe bomb promo when he left the company as the WWE Champion. The whole thing was a huge success, but maybe not the one the promotion expected. Because as soon as we could, we had Del Rio cash in his briefcase after Kevin Nash of all people laid out CM at SummerSlam. Oh yeah, wrong place, wrong time. That is not what the audience wanted. You also had John Cena being the main man, so really Del Rio was in the third spot, at least from a perspective point of view. It meant you got one of these situations where WWE was doing the exact opposite to what the fans wanted, and the disconnect sucked. Supposed to be so easy. Creative went off a cliff for the second half of the year too as the company tried to deal with this fallout. Let's just say it again, it was way too late. Number 9, CM Punk. So let's talk about the man himself. If you disagree, I'm with you, because in 2008, CM Punk benefited greatly from finally becoming the World Heavyweight Champion, but it still wasn't the coronation we would have hoped for beforehand. Because even though he was a Money in the Bank king, Vince McMahon was not sold on the dude, and therefore ensured while Punk was the champ, other people were highlighted ahead of him. It was the dumbest thing to do. Still, CM Punk did cash in on Edge on the 30th of Raw June, and the positive was he made it to the promised land. Once you get that opportunity once, you usually do get a second shot at it. The finish to all this was ridiculous as well, because Punk was replaced in a scrambled match by Chris Jericho, meaning he lost his title without even being involved. It was never going to work, but hey, at least this opened the door for what was going to come later. Number 8, Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan was one of the standout performers of 2024. She embraced her heel turn and Dominic Mysterio relationship and hit a home run. Her title run was great. It was not the case in 2022. Liv had won the Money in the Bank briefcase hours before she cashed in on Ronda Rousey, and at first it was great. What a surprise. Morgan had done it and beaten Ronda in the process. That's big. Much like CM Punk though, Liv was then treated as a champion in name only because she had to play second fiddle to both Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair. It was so weird, you could just tell this wasn't a well thought out plan. Her match with Ronda at SummerSlam was also a masterclass on how to get overly convoluted, to the point the fans booed Morgan. It wasn't her fault either. She was put in an impossible situation. By October, WWE ended the experiment, and it's just a shame. And again, look at what she did recently. Surprise, surprise, Morgan just needed the support. What a concept. Number 7, Booker T. Poor old Booker T. He totally warranted a title run in WCW in the year 2000. If anything, this was long overdue. Booker had been the man for ages. The plans were finally put in place at the Bash at the Beach pay-per-view, but talk about a double-edged sword. That was the same night Hulk Hogan, Jeff Jarrett, and Vince Russo did their work shoot angle, which turned into a real shoot and eventually a lawsuit. Guess what people soon forgot? That's right, Booker T winning the gold. It also meant T faced Jeff for a sort of fake title, like Book was lucking his way into the thing, and the creative was just so awful. Even today it doesn't make sense. We've had over 2 decades to try and dissect this. I suppose being the WCW World Champion in the summer of 2000 was always going to be tough regardless, but yeah. Booker T should have been treated way better than this. He was the guy. It was time to go all in on him, but not with all this confusing madness. Number 6, Scott Steiner. Let us jump forward to November 2000. This one may have been even worse. Now, first and foremost, fair play to Scott Steiner. He had reinvented himself as Big Papa Pump. The guy was terrifying. He seemed totally unhinged. He got so overcome the Mayhem pay-per-view it made sense to make him the champion. But yeah, this was too little, too late. WCW was already in freefall by this point, and while we forget it, rumors of the company being sold were already out there. Numbers were heading in the wrong direction. Scott did do his best, but nobody could have helped, and it meant his title run didn't get the attention maybe it should have done. The heel work was really good. Again, just felt like he was speaking his truth. And he probably was. Scott Steiner was the master of getting into trouble. You can see it for what it is if you retroactively watch this content, as now we have all the future news and context. If only WCW had realized this earlier, a promotion headed up by Steiner and Booker T could have been the first injection it needed, as we know that never happened. Instead, we kind of just ignored it. Number 5, Bray Wyatt. This should have been the one. We all knew the one thing missing with Bray was management actually getting behind him properly. Then finally, we did it. 2 months before WrestleMania 33, Wyatt surprisingly was successful in the Elimination Chamber. And here we go, the WWE Champion. And then no. Clearly Vince McMahon just didn't have a long-term plan, because not only did Randy Orton defeat the Eater of Worlds at the Show of Shows, by May, Jinder Mahal was the champion, and all of this happened in about 3 months. The fact Bray only held the title for 49 days is also ridiculous, and really this ended any hope for the character. He had just been beaten into the ground one too many times. It was so short-sighted, especially because this should have been someone who could have evolved forever. Just don't think people backstage got it, which is totally bonkers. You tell me a better persona than Bray Wyatt? There is few to choose from. Number 4, Chris Benoit. As always, I find it hard to talk about Chris Benoit in the modern day, but still. When WCW finally gave him the world title at Sold Out 2000, they'd already lost him. Benoit was gone. That was almost literally 2, because the powers that be only had Chris win the championship to convince him to stay in WCW. See? We are gonna push you now. Doesn't take a genius to figure out why he didn't believe it. It's like when you catch your partner cheating on you. I'll never do it again. Oh yeah, too late. Benoit would beat Sid Vicious in the main event and then went and handed the belt back to management before Nitro even aired. He was going to the WWF and nothing was going to change his mind. I really don't know what people were thinking here. If WCW had just pulled the trigger in 1999, they would have avoided all of this, but they waited so late. Not only did they lose Benoit, but 3 of his friends too. It's another reason why they went out of business. They were always so damn reactive. Number 3, Kofi Kingston. So I will never say this was the wrong time, because I'm just so happy it happened. Kofi Kingston earned this, and to see the joy it sent out across the community was lovely. Exactly what wrestling is all about. The issue is how we got here, or at least from a Vince McMahon point of view. As we now know, Mustafa Ali was going to tangle with Daniel Bryan until he very sadly got hurt, and Kofi was subbed in. Even at that point though, Kofi Mania wasn't meant to be a thing, but because the fans wanted it so much, we made it to the top of the mountain. Kingston defeated Bryan at Mania 35, and again, so wonderful, the utter sense of happiness. In terms of why it makes this list, however, look at how it ended. 8 seconds to Brock Lesnar because WWE debuted on Fox was such a slap in the face. It's basically how Kofi's entire run went, because this was like CM Punk earlier. Kingston had the belt but was never allowed to act like the champion. It's actually infuriating because he had all the tools and people loved him. That's it, it's all you need. I truly believe if Triple H had been in charge during this, we would have got a totally different outcome. So that is where the wrong time aspect comes into play. This could have been so much better than it was, but hey, I tell you man, at least we got it in the first place. Number 2, Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho has my favorite story about what happens when you finally become WWE Champion, because he got locked out of his hotel room and then had to eat cold pizza due to the issue. Welcome back to reality. It was a huge surprise when he did become the Undisputed Champion at Vengeance 2001, because he was in a mini tournament with Kurt Angle, The Rock, and Steve Austin. You know the deal. He defeated Austin and Rocky to do the unthinkable. I think it was the right time to do it because the then WWF needed new stars, but everything afterwards proved why it may have been better to wait. Triple H returned a month later and got moved into the top spot to such a degree, we all knew Jericho's days were numbered. Just had to get to WrestleMania 18. You also had the issue that The Rock and Hulk Hogan got programmed together, so all of this was overshadowed. Then we made Chris play second fiddle to Stephanie McMahon. Maybe this wasn't bad timing as opposed to bad booking. Jericho wouldn't be given the chance to rectify this for ages afterwards too. The WWE really did make it very hard for themselves. Number 1, Drew McIntyre. This was not Drew McIntyre's fault, and why he doesn't need or want my sympathy, I still feel very sorry for him. You know the deal too. Drew got his massive Royal Rumble win in 2020, and then soon afterwards, the world shut down. WWE decided they were going to plow on regardless, meaning at WrestleMania 36, we did do McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar with the Scottish Warrior becoming the world champion in front of no one. That's the opposite of what wrestling is meant to be. Drew himself has said he never envisioned this being the way he finally won the big one, and the fact he did it in what was essentially a warehouse. Well, yeah, I just feel for the guy. As I speak to you now, he still needs his proper world title Raw because he got screwed at Mania 40, but hey, it will happen one day. And either way, McIntyre has cemented himself as a modern-day top stars. That's just awesome, even more so as WWE fired him back in 2014. In hindsight, what we know now, what a ridiculous thing to do. Know of any other superstars who were the champion at the wrong time? Well, make sure you let us know in the comments before you like the video, share the video, and subscribe. You can also click the video on the screen to get even more facts about professional wrestling with me, Simon Miller. But otherwise, my friends, you take care of yourselves, and I will speak to you again very soon.